The message on the front of here, it puts a smile on my face every time. It's from my very favorite person. My, bar none, my very favorite person. Out of all the people that I have met in my lifetime, he is my absolute favorite. After his mom did some pretty messed up things, he decided he wanted to keep in contact with me. He got a hold of me through a YouTube video that I was making. And he was able to verify for me that it was in fact him. It was a wonderful feeling. There's also the text messages between him and I. And because of this message here, and his father having the custody, and his father wanting to meet me one day, it was actually okay for me to text with him. That's really good. That's really a nice thing. But then things changed a little bit because his mom slandered me to his father. This is the same woman who was trying to pretend she was in love with me so that she could try to entice me to kill the guy well over a decade ago. Now, he's going to turn capable of showing a lot of things here very shortly. His dependence on certain people in his life will no longer be there. And when that happens, I do believe wholeheartedly that he'll come forward with me because he's got a strong heart and a strong mind. He also knows I understand the situation. He also knows that I'm going to believe him over his mother. And I'm going to believe him over his mother's exes because I know them and I know him. He didn't have to reach out to me. He didn't have to encourage me. But more than just encouraging me, he gave me a belief and hope for humanity. Even with all of the horrible stuff that his mother had done, he's aware that those were her choices and not mine, that she's the one that committed those acts and not me. He knows her way better than I do, and how is that? Well, he has been involved in helping her with a lot of this manipulation. He knows the tune and he knows the routine. Now, after he let me know that his father was no longer okay with it, I let him know, well, it's not okay to contact me anymore. Sorry. That's not out of hatred. That's because, well, when you are living with a certain person, you do kind of have to follow their rules, even if they're wrong. Even if he didn't do wrong things and I didn't do wrong things, the thing is, that doesn't matter. What matters is what the parents think. And if his dad is okay with him and I being friends, that's one thing. But if his dad isn't okay with it, then I'm not okay with it. At least for now. I've got screenshots buried in my evidence somewhere, and I can hopefully be able to go back to the video where he typed in it and be able to re-screenshot that. I am certain that the phone that he and I were text messaging on, I'm fairly certain I still have that. His mom is one of the ones that wanted to play victim. Take it down now! Yeah, she went out of her way to be the most mean, twisted, and hurtful person that she could be. At that point, she was angry that, well, I just ruined her playtime. Everything that I know of Mark, I met him once. I saw him twice after that because I rode with him to go take him for the custody thing. And so, I mean, I've met him once, but I've seen him more than once. He's the guy that Jamie wanted to try enticing me to kill. Like, no, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. Why do y'all think that you can take vulnerable adults, assume they're retarded and that they have no morality and they're desperate enough to kill somebody just because, well, who would you try that with or play that on? When I was a kid and there was kids that wanted to bully me or my older brother into doing stuff that we shouldn't, or to try to entice us into doing stuff that we shouldn't, it's because they assumed we were both stupid. When it turned out that we wasn't stupid, what happened then? Well, then that's when the threats happened. Alright, let's make sure we plug this in. The screenshot on the front of this is just one of a few pieces of correspondence between him and I. After his mom wanted to play victim when she got busted playing again. I got a couple of videos with him on my YouTube channel, and you know, as scared as he was in that situation, afraid that he might get in trouble for speaking up, I think he should have the chance and the opportunity to do so in a setting where he doesn't have to be afraid of his mother or his father or any retaliation from them for speaking up, for saying the truth of what he saw, the truth of what he felt. This is my favorite person in the whole world, people. He knows it. Natalie knew it. His mom knows it. She also knows that just like with my stepdad and my little sister and my mom can hurt my stepdad, or could hurt my stepdad by throwing a tantrum and then saying, well, you're not Tara's biological dad, so you'll either do what I say or you'll never get to see your daughter again. Well, the boy's not my son. And I didn't raise him as my own, but I would have. You know, I don't believe in bringing children into this world because I believe it's cruelty. But I absolutely believe in protecting them once they're here. But it's not just children, it's also adults. It just so happens that children are the priority. However, it's tough when we have so many people who are actually being victimized, and then we've got so many people who have been taught that they can pretend. Because after children, who's the next step on the list that we're supposed to care about? Single moms, in specific. Single moms. After that, who are we supposed to care about? Is it single dads? No. It's women in general. That's what our bias says. It shows there's no equality, just bias. There's wonderful laws that are created to protect us from situations like this. And then there's wonderful criminals who twist that and manipulate it however they want to interpret it. I mean, hell, you're the one with the badge and the gun. I better listen to you, right? Whether you're wrong legally or not is arbitrary because you have a badge and a gun. I better do as you say. Anyway, I've got the recordings with the man that I was rescuing them from the first time I went up there. I got multiple recordings with him. Some of them are live and some of them ain't. I actually took down the ones that he asked me to take down that were live. Well, I tried to. There's 2 of them that are still up, and I go to them once in a while just because, well, that important information is important information. It is recorded so that it can go to the police, but I would need James's help turning that into the police. The other messages, he also types about his mom and how she is. He does recognize that as a character flaw. He also does very much love his mom. I always tell him nobody loves you more than your mom. Not even me. Sometimes I wonder. A lot of times I really wonder. But at the end of the day, I'm not his mother. I'm not the one paying bills or having to go do that custody stuff. I'm not having to drive hundreds of miles to make sure that I comply with visitation. I'm not having to support half the bills to go over his head. I'm not paying child support, and I'm not taking care of him in person. He's not my kid, and the law is very clear about that. Now, the evidence with him that shows that the situation surrounding Todd Rust of Chapel, Nebraska, James Payton of Lodgepole, Nebraska, and several others, it shows that I did in fact speak the truth of those situations, and many others that my predators get to pretend don't exist because certain people are not allowed to testify yet. Although that evidence is legal to record, the fact is that I believe under the situation and the duress, I believe that we can get a lot more honesty out of having a safer situation for this individual. A situation where mom doesn't get to pull her manipulation tactics anymore. But I hope through all of it, he still understands that his mother loves him. And that right or wrong, the reason that his mother uses the tactics that she does is because they're effective. I often hear well, if it worked for you, you'd do it too. Somebody in person was telling me that when I was talking about all these folks who get on and have a OnlyFans account. They want to bare parts of them and try to make money, and that's why a lot of the hate groups that are towards all men, they're funded by women who are scantily clad, and once you pay for the only fans or fans only thing, then there's even no clad, and a lot of people will pay for that. But I was told, you know what, you're just jealous. You're just jealous because that won't work for you. Well, maybe so. Maybe that is the case. Maybe I am just jealous, or maybe I'm trying to show the extreme difference. I've shown the difference in how I'm treated when I go to police alone versus when I go with someone. How I'm treated when they know it's being recorded live versus when they don't know it's being recorded. I've shown their excuses for not looking at any evidence or pretending that the situation didn't happen because I didn't record the beginning of it. How was I to know that somebody was going to come beating on my window at fucking midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning? What, I'm supposed to just have this magic radar that wakes me up and turns on my phone in half a second and I can point it at them? No, I have to go through a whole fucking routine to make a video. Somebody can scream at me and yell at me and shout at me and threaten to kill me as many times as they want in about a minute's worth of time while it takes me to get it all started up. There's a few of them on there that they don't have a title that makes any sense whatsoever because it was an emergency situation where I was trying to type it fast because people were in that moment threatening to kill me or threatening other harm. But also, as always, when I go to turn it in, it's a matter of not having a place to go through this stuff safely, not having the physical ability to continue to run in and out and in and out. It is expensive to have to run around all these places and buy and purchase something so that I can use the parts that I need. For example, Starbucks. I'm just as fine with sitting in my car with my addiction of Starbucks as I am sitting in Starbucks with my addiction of Starbucks. Matter of fact, I'm actually kind of more comfortable in my car because I don't have a whole bunch of people and noises around me at all points in time that are like that, echoey off the walls. A lot of people, when they listen to me trying to make phone calls and talk to people when I'm in a McDonald's or a Starbucks, dude, I'm going fucking nuts just listening to that. I would go fucking crazy if I had to listen to that whole video. One of the things about people coming forward and all of the extra work it makes for me when they say they can't or aren't allowed, a lot of people can and are allowed. They just have to be afraid to do so in their current situation. That's where the safe environment comes in. I get made fun of for that. Oh, you need a safe space. Well, guess what? Amy Witcher, when she was trying to get herself to a safe place and her kids so she could safely turn in Andrew, it was somebody else jumping the gun that prevented that from happening. A safe place is the most important part. Housing first. We can't possibly jump through all these hoops all over the fucking place. We can't possibly do it. All of our money is spent having to drive to different places because we don't have a roof over our fucking heads that's ours. Without a friend or family member, yeah, anybody who works for the government is going to take advantage of you. All it takes is one of those people to not care, to pretend like you're a fucking nut job because you are going through hell. and then all of their ears turn off. All it takes is one cop that you're trying to turn in to arrest you on false charges and lie to the hospital saying you're schizophrenic and your whole life is over. Or a situation like here in Tillamook where that 14-year-old girl was assaulted, and yes, I recorded it. I still need help turning that into CPS safely. But none of you are going to do that because despite the fact that these children's lives are at risk, despite the fact that now they're at risk of the only thing that they can do to escape a violent or abusive situation is to cut on themselves and scream publicly about it. Sure, they're going to get taken to a nuthatch and injected with drugs and given the same treatment they've been through before, but at least it'll get them out of their predator's house for a few days. At least there's a chance that maybe one of the nurses or doctors will listen and do the right thing. It's tough. I also have to worry about the fact that the law enforcement here, I have to turn in for crimes that they committed. They intentionally created a situation where I would be at risk and deprived of resources. Intentionally created a safety risk where I would have to be afraid to go talk to them. God, my back hurts. And I parked in a weird way where the sun is kind of blinding me a bit. Anyway, I have to think of a lot more people than just your kid. I have to think about the safety of more than just your kids, Candace Ponderant. I have to worry about more than just the safety of your kids. Tara Lawton, I should say kid, not kids. I have to worry about more than just your kids, Carl Rogers, aka Cara Mia. I have to worry about more than just your kids, Teresa Orn. I have to worry about more than just your kids, Aaron Cockerham. With all of you, I have to worry I have to worry about more than just your kids. So every one of you women who wanted to use that as an excuse after sticking your nose where it doesn't belong, claiming that you were gonna help, even knowing that you had kids, but you didn't keep your word, and now you want to hide behind your children as your excuse for lying, as your excuse for playing head games, as your excuse for gaslighting, as your excuse for taking advantage of somebody. That's not okay. I'm not even allowed to tell you that you did something wrong or did something mean, or you pretend I'm attacking you. Meanwhile, who is it that went to prison? I was sent to 5 different facilities, 2 of them prisons. One of those facilities twice. Meanwhile, I was charged with misdemeanors for trying to turn in Robert Franklin Mornick, a registered sex offender. Scott DaCosta, who had repeatedly assisted my predators with getting away and moving on and being able to travel out of jurisdiction. Scott DaCosta was instrumental in assisting my predators in getting away, including many child molesters and rapists. Child molesters and rapists whose victims' words I still have. You know what? There's little boys right now who are afraid because they're stuck in some really fucked up situations. And there's some little girls who are stuck in some really fucked up situations And because of the way the police treat me, I have to be afraid to go to them. Those children should be allowed to turn this in privately, and somebody should do something about it. But you guys aren't taking that seriously. You're taking it as, oh, Sean, you're just trying to get away with all the bad things you did because you're evil. No. No. I grew up in the system. I grew up with the abuse. When Amy Kalina Kingery's kids were acting the way they were, and it was not appropriate. They were some of the worst behaved kids that I've known, but also given their situation, where they were at and why they were afraid, they had every right and every reason to be afraid. And I did my best to fulfill my obligation as a human being to protect those children when their parents weren't there. Where was Nathan Kingery? Where was Amy Kingery? And what was Rihanna doing to protect them from herself, her alcoholism, her violence, and her emotions that she couldn't keep under control? Same thing with Jamie. Then there's the Jamie in Hood River. Type up the words Jamie again on my YouTube channel. You'll find an elderly woman who is, within the first 30 seconds of the video, you get to see a man follow her over 100 feet, punch her in the back of her head. There's a whole bunch of people there watching. There's at least 30 people there altogether. Several of them walk in front of my camera. It's a blurry resolution, so a lot of the little dots in the background, you can't tell what they are. But when it moves, you can tell that it's something. Obviously, there aren't a bunch of bears walking around upright in Hood River. Or, sorry, the Dalles. But then there's ones that are much closer up, and you can definitely tell them. Plus, there's all the ones that were in the shade on the south side of the building. Or, sorry, north side of the building. Whole bunch of people all lined up against the wall. Sitting on or in sleeping bags or blankets. In the first 30 seconds of the video, that man follows her, socks her in the back of the head. All those people there saying it's never okay to hit a woman. It's never okay to hit a woman. Well, you know what woke society is doing? It's making women like that the victims, and men like me the victims. People you call mentally ill and pretend like they're the bad guy when they have a mental breakdown from abuse like that. Jamie and I are both experiencing the effects and showing signs of the trauma committed against us. Within the first 5 minutes of that video, because right after he hits her, before he gets a chance to hit her again, I yell. He redirects his attention, his aggression, his hatred and anger towards me. Luckily, I'm able to defuse situations pretty easily. Some people walk up on you, realize you're half their size, and realize they got kind of a moral conundrum here. Then again, he had no problems hitting a female half his size, did he? It's fucking disgusting. When you're an at-risk adult like that, the state is mandatorily supposed to pick up the charges because she can't defend herself, and neither can I. What the fuck is wrong with y'all? On the bright side, even though my favorite person in the whole world, I had to instruct him not to call me, not to talk to me, and not to message me unless it was life-threatening. Yeah, you goddamn right. If Natalie gets a hold of me and says that her family is driving her to suicide, or if Alicia Bollinger or Natalie Bollinger disappear and could be being harmed, you goddamn right, I'm gonna fucking speak up. When Natalie disappeared, I spoke up. I tried to help find her, but you guys ignore that because it doesn't fit the narrative of Sean the stalker, Sean the rapist, Sean the child molester, Sean the... You take your pick. But you can ask every single child I ever babysat. I don't sit on babies. And I don't molest children. A lot of people want to use that kind of stuff when they get busted doing something wrong, pretending like you're a monster, hide behind their children as an excuse. When they did something wrong, when they did the manipulating. And people want to throw it in your face, the nice things they did for you. Really? Really, you want to throw that in my face now? Why couldn't you just easily have come forward about it at the beginning? On the bright side, when people are angry. Yeah. People want to call me a hypocrite. I know I am. When people do wrong shit to me and the cops blow me off and my friends and family blow me off and pretend like it's okay, pretend like it's not illegal, pretend like it's all right due to a disabled homeless man. Well, if it's okay for them to do it to me, then shouldn't it be okay for me to do it back? You want to say two rights don't make a wrong. You know what? If you let somebody who beats on you just beat on you and beat on you and beat on you and beat on you, nobody's willing to do anything about it except tell you you got to do it yourself. And then when you do something back, then the cops will come and fuck up your life. Because you finally stood up to your fucking predators. But I gotta tell you, if you're gonna go from being a fucking pussy or a fucking walkover or a goddamn carpet to fighting for human rights this way, you gotta know it's not for the faint of heart. It's not easy. You will be targeted. You will be harmed. People will break your shit. They will lie about you. They will slander your name. Anything that they can do to get you to not be heard. Anything that they can do or say to try to convince people not to look at evidence. Anything that they can do or say to try to deprive you of time, resources, money. This is where the felonies come in when it comes to mandated reporters. They know they're mandated reporters. They know they lied to me, and now they know that they're recorded doing it live on YouTube and Facebook. Maybe you guys should actually take a look at the laws. You can see how complicated they are, but also when it comes to at-risk adults. And in specific, that is defined as a disabled or elderly adult in an at-risk situation. That's me. My predators all have names. So do all my heroes. Although the boy's mom is no longer one of my favorite people, well, she still is. She still is one of my favorite people on the planet. I remember the happy times, and there were plenty. I remember the positive memories and the way that it felt to almost feel like I had a family. I wouldn't have ever gotten jealous if it weren't for the back and forth and back and forth. I'm good enough, I'm not. 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 If it weren't for that whole jealousy thing wouldn't have even entered my mind. But she was pushy. Now the thing is, that's not how she manipulates me. She can't manipulate me using that part of her anatomy or pretending like maybe that part of her anatomy will be something that I can do something with. No, she doesn't get to do that with me, because between her son and that part of her body, I don't care about that part of your body. What I cared about with her was her brain and how she treated me. But when you no longer treat me well or like a person, I'm not obligated to keep your secrets or do anything for you. When you're going to play on a person's disabilities as an excuse to harm them, or you're going to pretend you're going to help somebody and then you're going to use the slander that people said as an excuse why you didn't keep your word. That's horrible. Don't hide behind your kids. Don't tell me that people are threatening to harm your kids, because I will speak out. I will not tolerate child abuse. I will not. And when it comes to child abuse, every single one of these officers should have taken it seriously and done what they were mandatorily supposed to do. Same thing with CPS and APS when I went to them in person with evidence. There's a lot more evidence where this came from.